This week's episode of My Hero Academia has it all. It's got action, it's got drama, it's got characterization, and if you wanted it, it's got some cheerleader fan service. And it's also riding the hype train to Manlytown, because in the third round of the UA Sports Festival, we're gonna get ourselves a classic one-on-one fighting tournament. That's right. Things are about to go Dragon Ball in My Hero Academia. And in the very first round, Izuku Midoriya is going to do battle with the mind-controlling Hitoshi Shinso. This episode was pretty great. It was a great hype builder from beginning to end. I especially loved how in the first half of the episode, we started to delve a little bit deeper into Shoto Todoroki's backstory, which is, of course, completely frigging messed up. Apparently, the reason that he resents his father so much has to do with his mother, and he goes into this whole concept that there's a lot of forced marriages in the My Hero Academia world, where people are trying to inherit the abilities of other people and pass them on to their children, with Endeavor, his fiery father, married to a woman who has the power of ice, and his mother apparently kind of resented both Endeavor and even Shoto Todoroki to the point where she actually hurt her son by pouring boiling water on his face. That's why he actually has those really creepy scars, and that's also why Shoto wants to do everything in his power to show his dad he doesn't need to rely on the power of fire, he can do it with the power of ice. This is a pretty interesting way to build up this character a little bit, and clearly Endeavor has some sort of massive chip on his shoulder, which has almost certainly been burnt to a crisp at this point. There's a scene where he talks to All Might, and when I say talk, basically he just avoids him like the plague. He wants nothing to do with All Might at all, who he sees as nothing more than a clueless idiot, but All Might is just there for advice. He knows that Shoto is incredibly powerful and has had some great training, and he just wants some tips on how to turn Izuku into much more of a manly hero. But Endeavor is not going to have it, still continuing to want to be the #1 hero in the world. The rest of the episode, we get a little bit of a break before the next part of the tournament, which is essentially just an excuse to see the characters relax a little bit, go through some meditation, and of course to see some fan service from some of the favorite female characters of the series. I love the fact that Mineta actually tricked them all into wearing cheerleader outfits because they hired these American cheerleaders to actually come to the tournament who all have hilarious haughty designs with extremely pointy noses. And then when the girls come out and see that this is all just sort of a trick just to see them in cheerleading outfits, it's honestly pretty funny, with some of them actually getting into it a little bit more than others, like the Invisible Girl and even Uraraka. But it's only a matter of time before we get to the next portion of the tournament where things really kick up to 11. We're getting a tournament arc, which, man, I could not be happier. That's like always my favorite style of thing in a shonen battle manga series. It's a great excuse to show off some amazing powers, and some of the battles that we're going to see here I think are going to be really unique. Like the first one alone, with Izuku going up against Shinso Hitoshi, who, according to the character of Ojiro, the guy with the really big tail, he actually has the ability to control people simply by talking to them. Whenever he has a conversation with someone, if you verbally speak back to this guy, he can immediately start to take control of you. So if you're talking to him in the middle of the ring, he could just say, "Walk out of the ring, ring out, I win," or "knock yourself out." And it seems like that's actually going to happen at the very end of this episode, although I have a feeling that Izuku has found another way to get around his abilities, which is going to lead to an amazingly great twist in next week's episode. But it's some of the other battles that I frankly cannot wait to see, like Fumikage going up against Momo, or even Katsuki Bakugo going up against Uraraka. What the hell's going to happen there? Is Katsuki just going to go all out and try to make her explode? How's Uraraka going to be able to keep her cool? And then there's Tenya Ida going up against Mei Hatsume, who at first, this almost seems like, you know, Tenya's definitely going to be able to win with his extreme speed, but the fact that she has all of this crazy technology leads me to believe that this is going to be a test bed for some of her other brand new projects that she's been working on. Excuse me, her babies. This is going to be a really fun tournament right here, and I can't wait to see where it's going to lead. So, what's the rundown on this week's episode of My Hero Academia? This was a great episode from a characterization standpoint, and of course for hype building. The first half of the episode, we had this great moment between both Izuku and Shoto, with Shoto telling his entire past about why he's resenting his father, why he refuses to use those fire abilities, and claiming that he's not going to use them for the rest of the tournament, and how basically his family life and his support that he's received from people is the exact opposite of Izuku's, where he's had a lot of people who are constantly there to hold him up and support him in many ways. I definitely get a big Naruto vibe from this scene. It seems like something that Naruto would actually tell to his companions, and that's sort of the vibe that I've been constantly getting from My Hero Academia, and maybe that's the reason I like it so much. It's not as preachy as Naruto, and that's definitely why I like it, and it certainly seems to have a much bigger sense of humor, especially with the character designs and just all of the ridiculousness overall, but it still manages to be a lot of fun. But the fact that we have a tournament arc that's getting ready to happen, that's what's got me excited. I just can't wait to see some really cool battles, and we're going to have some really interesting setup going into this one. And most interestingly, there's also a little bit of drama in this one as well, where a couple of the fighters have actually decided to not participate in this tournament, like Ojiro, who was actually controlled by Hitoshi Shinso in the last episode, and he's the one who actually goes to Izuku telling him about his abilities and what to look out for. A couple people also opt out, and that's when we get to bring in some other fighters, like that one girl who has the thorny vines for hair, and of course Tetsu, and I just wanted to talk about him because he has a really funny name, and I just love saying it. Really, though, this was a hype builder of an episode, but also delving into the darker aspects of Shoto Todoroki's life, which is definitely a reason to check out this week's episode, and exactly why I'm going to give this one a 4 out of 5. I am going to drop it down just a little bit because I was hoping we could get a little bit more into the actual tournament. This was something of a slow episode, but still it's something that I really appreciate, and I always have to keep reminding myself that unlike the first season, this one's going to go on for 26 episodes. So there's still a lot of room for development, and this is just the point where we're just going to have to kick back, put our feet up, and watch some really cool superhero battles. So get excited, My Hero Academia fans! Make sure to tell me what you guys thought about this week's episode in the comment section below, and what you hope to see from the next episode of the series. How is Izuku going to combat Shinso's ability to control his mind? Does he have a secret up his sleeve? Did he put earplugs in or something? Is there something else that we just don't know? What other battles are you hoping to see, and what do you hope to see from the rest of the UA Sports Festival? Thank you guys for watching this review. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for all things My Hero Academia anime related. Make sure to leave me a comment telling me what you thought about this week's episode. I'd love to talk with you guys about it. And of course, if you liked this review, please give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, give it a thumbs down. I'll see you guys next time. And as always, stay dandy, baby!